Get in, buckle up, and come for a ride with the Hoonatics. Cars, bikes, and anything else with an engine in it. Let's go.
A Snap-on franchise is a tool to your freedom, and we currently have franchise opportunities available across Australia. Snap-on have the best brands in the industry, a supportive network with exclusive training, as well as financing options to get you on the road. Are you ready to drive your own success? Visit snaponfranchises.com.au or call 1-800-762-766 for more information.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Hoonatics. My Hoonatic tonight again is Davo Johnson. He was here with Troy Bayliss with me last time. We're still at the same place. We've got a second guest here tonight of the motorbike variety, so it probably works better that we've got Davo here because Jason knows nothing about bikes, and he's not here anyway, so we can say whatever we want about him. But tonight our guest, there's a bit of a connection there, even though I know nothing about it and I'm terrible on a dirt bike. The connection is that the Hoonatics is sponsored by Snap-on, and so is Todd Waters. Thanks for coming, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Watch out for the injuries.
Yeah, we've had a little mishap. After our motocross championship, we went and did a fun event. There was about 800 people. It was a Red Bull day and a dirt event. You camp, have a lot of fun, bonfires and that kind of stuff. And yeah, when I was relaxed, I guess I just wasn't thinking properly and come unstuck. So ended up breaking the end of my thumb off and breaking M5, so in my hand. Wow. So it's 4 weeks at the moment. We raced Brisbane Indoor on the weekend and yeah, it was difficult.
And that was after wrapping up the Australian Championship and then going to a fun event and then wrecking yourself. Yeah. Obviously it's not the best lead up to the Supercross series, but an awesome season for you, for sure, and you and the Husky team. Yeah,
so far DPH Husqvarna's, they've never won a Australian Championship in the 450 category, let alone a race. So we won some races and that was great for the team, good atmosphere, and then we clinched the championship and teammate Wilson Todd won the MX2 class. So that hasn't ever been done here in Australia before, winning both categories, and Husqvarna hasn't won here for 20 or 30 years. So a lot of cool things this year. It was a great year, but yeah, it's not done yet. Motocross is your outdoor, your 2 to 3 kilometre track. It's long races, so we do a lot of fitness, endurance, upper body strength, and yeah, it's a different kind of racing opposed to Supercross. Supercross is really intense, short, a lot about the starts and so on. It's aggressive, so I was hoping to get a nice 4 or 5 week lead up to Supercross to get my intensity building and my rhythm, because it's quite short. As you can see, it's in a stadium, so not a lot of room for error, and injuries obviously a lot higher the risk. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate that we hurt ourselves. My first ride of Supercross was press day on last Friday before the event, so we raced on Saturday. So I was a fish out of water for sure.
Were you able to do a little bit of training leading up to that, or just obviously light training? No strength training, surely? Or... Yeah.
Oh no, my off-bike program was pretty much the same. Yeah, I wasn't doing upper body stuff, but everything that I could. So we do a lot of cardio, a lot of cycling. I couldn't get on the rower. We do a lot of rowing, but we're doing like your step machines, like lots of things like that. So I was doing my 2-3 hour cycles and 3 times a week gym, that kind of stuff. But yeah, just nothing replicates a motorbike. It's that's what you need. So, and going from motocross, it's a lot faster and bigger bumps and stuff like that. So our bikes are set up a little bit plusher to try and we go a lot for the grip as well, opposed to Supercross where it doesn't get rough. It's got a berm in every corner and big jumps, so the bikes are set up really stiff. Like you can't turn them on flat ground, like they have super stiff. So that just allows you to jump lower because your suspension doesn't soak in and pop up high. So it allows you to jump lower, but it takes quite a bit to get used to. So it was kind of a little bit of a punch in the face when I jumped on that on the bike that we'd done no testing on for press day, and I was like, man, I got to line up tomorrow night, and with these 2 splints taped to my hands, makes my grips feel like they're twice the size and making my arms pump up. For people who don't ride motorbikes, we get arm pump when it's when you get a bit nervous or feeling a bit uncomfortable. So
You might get arm pump after about half a lap, don't you, mate?
Yeah. No, I was just coming out of the pits, really. So, just quickly as well, for the people on iTunes that are listening to this, you might hear a bit of trucks and front end loaders and stuff like that in the background. It is because we are actually at Gilman Speedway where they're building the Supercross track right now. So the event's on in 2 nights from now. So we've got guys buzzing around in bobcats and stuff like that. And
every time I turn my head, there's another set of doubles sitting there.
it is a pretty impressive looking track. So I'm looking forward to Saturday night. Unfortunately, Davo's going to get his nails done on Saturday night. So
Got doing it.
No, he's playing good husband.
So I am.
Yeah.
But no, I bet you're looking forward to this one here.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's I haven't been racing Supercross for a couple of years now. Last year we went off and did some World Championship stuff over in Europe. So I missed the Supercross season here. So that's also, it's a year without doing Supercross. So on one side, I'm really excited to be back. It's always fun racing the guys. It's such close racing, but then I missed out on a year of Supercross. So it's kind of, it's not the great situation at the moment for me. It's injured as well as the experience isn't there. So this year is about getting the bike out there. We're going to try and build. We broken hands. We got 6th in the first round. So it's not the worst result considering the circumstances, but we race for podiums and we want to win races, so it's definitely not where we want to be, but we'll try and build from here. And the interesting thing for me, the way you talk too, but from a professional team point of view as well, because you say we a lot, you're not just talking about you, you're talking about the team. Yeah.
So, some riders say me, but the good riders say us, because you win and lose as a team.
Yeah, exactly, because I guess if it wasn't for the team, the bike would be right and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's a team effort, and I'm lucky enough that I have my old man, he mechanics for me.
Oh, that's good.
So Dad and my mum have been around for my entire racing career, and I think the first time they didn't come to a race was when I went and raced World Championship in Europe. So for 2 years they weren't with me there, but they love it, and when I can, I slot Dad in as a mechanic, as it's just a race day mechanic. So the bikes get prepped down in the workshop, loaded in the truck, so they're fully prepared. They turn up on race day, and your race day mechanic just does the pit boarding, comes to start line, changes tyres, and make sure that the bike's fueled up and so on. So it's great to be able to spend time with my old man like that. I'm 28 years old and I can share something like that with my family. It's great. And
did you get your passion for bikes from your dad, or was it just something that sort of happened?
No, it's so we come from a little town called Atherton up from Cairns. It's a farming community, and my parents had 5 acres. My dad was into horses, so it's sort of more farming up there.
Did you ride horses as well?
Yeah. Yeah, so we grew up. I'm from a farming upbringing, and Dad bought me a little 50, and he said, there's something wrong with this kid. Like, I'd just ride around and around. I'd just have a track and I'd just ride round and round till it run out of fuel and he'd fill it up. And he's like, a normal kid would just, they'd get sick of it. They'd go riding up the road, and I'd just ride round and round and round. I just loved it. And we went to races and we started winning some races, and it just progressed from there. My parents, they don't have a lot of money, and unfortunately I just started winning races, and it kind of sent everyone broke.
But then you're obviously good enough at 17 to go pro.
Yeah,
that's quite a good thing. And when your first win in 450, that must have been like the point that you thought, yes, I'm there now. Like, is that the point for you?
Yeah, well, my first Australian title was when I was 12, and that was we went for a holiday to see my uncle down in Sydney, and I qualified 5th or something, and my dad was nearly crying with excitement that I could get top 10. And I went out and won the first 2 races. Don't know why. Like, it just sort of happened, and then that sort of set the tone that in my head, no, I'm meant to win. Like, this is what I do. Didn't matter because it rains a lot up home. I wouldn't ride a bike for 2-3 months and I'm going to win, you know. And you can get away with it when you're a kid because you're naturally fit and, you know, no kid's really riding like a pro. So that worked. We won 5 junior Aussie titles. And that's, as a kid I knew that 13 years old, you know, KTM were giving me 4 bikes a year. Like Jeff Leask was sponsoring me. And that's what got me to where I am now. You know, my mum and dad's commitment is massive. That I couldn't be where I am without them, but the support from Jeff Leask financially with bike support and stuff was massive. And that's what I knew in the back of my head, that if I don't win races, I'm not going to be riding. So I did my trade. I left school and did my trade as a cabinet maker joiner. So that helped me a lot as well. Like even today, sometimes when I'm going on the track and I'm buggered from training or I'm injured, you know, I always get to look back and go, hey man, you're not building like kitchens in a shed. Like you're riding a dirt bike for a living. Like it's awesome.
That's good. And then obviously the opportunity come to go to Europe. Yeah. And did quite well there. Yeah. You stayed there for long enough. What made you come back? You were at the front of the championship there, and then what was the decision to come back to Australia? Well, it actually fell through a contract, so it was unfortunate. It was and that was a tough point in my career for sure. Like we're over there, it was, you know, my 10th ever world GP. I didn't go in the 250 class, or I went straight to the premier class, and after the first 3 rounds I was 6th in the world championship. And then my 10th ever world GP, we got a podium, and then I think we got 4 top 5s, so we got some 4ths and stuff, and then they had a new model bike, we jumped on that, and I just didn't gel with it, but so my results dropped towards the end of the season, and yeah, we ended up 9th in the world championship that year. And yeah, it was just unfortunate. At the end of the year when everything was wrapped up, they were like, oh, we're not going to continue, and so yeah, I'd come back here. I had no option. It wasn't obviously wasn't a bad decision. You come back and you're winning. Yeah. It's I'm sure that they're still sort of watching what you're doing. You could probably go back there whenever you want. But so is that an aspiration still for you to go back to Europe again? Well, it was. And at that point, I was on. You know, I wasn't a world champion sort of level, but I was, you know, your top 5 guy. I was able to be consistently that, but I come back here and it kind of, you know, it's a big hit to the heart. Like it's not just, oh yeah, we're not going to hire, and you just jump in your car and drive across from Belgium to France and stay with your mum and dad. Like, you know, I had a camper van, I had a car, like an apartment there, like I had to sell everything and shift everything in 2 weeks. Like it was a stressful time in my life, and yeah, my partner now, Jillian, she was over there with me, and we moved back here. She's a physio, so she's gone back to work, and I had really big problems trying to get motivated. Like I just had in my gut like a feeling like I should be over there. Like I bet that must have been the first time in your career you felt like that, because you're on such a high. You've done so well in Australia. Went there. Yeah, it must have been tough to get back. It wasn't like, you know, when I was 18, I won my first 450 pro race. I was riding for Honda, and yeah, I was like 450. Normally, you step up when you're 24 or so, but I just rode a big engine bike well. And Urife gave me the opportunity, so I rode the first round, and yeah, no one expected it. We won the first round, we had the red plate, and then I had injury, and the same the next year. So I've had a lot of laying in hospital beds, leading the championship, going, I can't defend it. You know, like I've had a lot of that, like upsetting times, and character building, my old mechanic used to say. Yeah, that's what they are. It's definitely turned me into a bit of a character, that's for sure.
Well, I guess, like, you know, Supercross and motocross, you are kind of riding the ragged edge, like some of the landings and the, you know, passes and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. It's either going to work or it's not. So, and you have to be pushing to that level. So the chances of injury are pretty high, but if you get through and you get through unscathed, then that's when you take the wins, isn't it? So.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what makes it, this year, like it's kind of a funny feeling, because I always said to my girlfriend, I said, I never get emotional, like I never feel anything. I win races, I win the biggest race. I podiumed in Italy at the World Championship, standing up there in front of hundreds of thousands of people and nothing. Like, I'm like, I need to get back to train to win. Like there was never like a stand back and go, wow, like how good's this? It was just the way I was so driven, and just, I never praised myself, or like you said, it's always like, I just naturally, like, we as a team, like, I don't think of myself, like I never think of that. I've always praised others, and it's just my personality.
So now I guess what you're saying is you're almost getting back to that Todd as a kid when you were buzzing around on the bike, actually enjoying it.
Yeah. So I got in that dark sort of place, and I found it, I had 2 years where I was struggling. I won some races, but I was struggling with just going to the track, telling myself, like, man, you ride a bike. Like, I felt like I didn't want to train and ride. So last year we packed up, we got an opportunity to race for factory Honda over in Europe. So we went over and did World Championship again. And I got my butt kicked. We went to Latvia, I broke my collarbone. I was laying in a hospital bed in Latvia. Like, that's up near Russia, so it's an Eastern European country.
You don't want to go to hospital there, really.
Man, I was a bit worried. And yeah, that's character building, that sort of stuff, It's you don't know if you're going to wake up or not, or no one's speaking English, or insurances, or... So anyway, we got through that, and yeah, it was nice, because the people that I was racing, you mentioned Jake Nichols went to road. Well, I used to race with him, and there's a bunch of guys, but now we're racing for like 10th, 11th, 12th, like 15th, like we're battling. Whereas before we were battling for like 4ths and 3rds and 5ths. So the levels raised a lot in the World Championship, and I accept that now. It was nice, because I come back and I was able to reset and go, I'm here to win Australia, I'm going to dominate the championship here.
You got the old Todd back.
Yeah. And happy, and I actually worked really hard with my partner Jill, of enjoying it. Like, when you go over the finish line, like, and I almost faked it at first, like going over and going, yes, like, and then it started to bring feeling. And so I always said, like, you watch the Olympics and I go, that's so amazing how the athlete tears up and starts crying on the podium. I said, I just want to feel that one day. Yeah. Like, I've never even come close to that. It's like
when
I've
you
got
probably
a
get into it such a young age, and you were just dominating as a kid, like you said, and then it just become like normal to you. Yeah. And then I've seen it with athletes. MotoGP riders, like they start when they're like 11 years old, and then they get into it, they start winning, and then they lose their mojo, and then eventually fade out. Yeah. But then they've got a normal life. Yeah. And then they're thinking then, oh mate, what opportunity I had, now it's gone. That's what you got to think about. Like, if it's all gone, you'll be much more depressed bastard than if you're winning race on the podium. That's the thing. But
that's like, I wasn't, my family's really hard working, and they're very humble. Like, it's not, I go home and they're like, I get that much stuff ragged on me. I get my feet put back on the ground really quickly.
That's a good thing.
So it's good. But I wasn't, I didn't just dominate everything as a kid. Like, I won some races, but then I got my butt kicked, but the difference being was my personality was, I was always so hungry. Like, if I won, I needed to win by more. It was never like, I won tonight, oh, let's go party, like, blah, blah. Like,
that's like me. When I win, it takes me 6 months to get back to winning again.
Yeah, like, I win a race and I'm like, I'm going to bed at 8:30 because I'm getting up to go for a recovery run, because I'm gonna win everything. Like, I'm going to be world champion, or like, that was my mentality. Whereas this year we worked on, and it's not going party and all that sort of stuff, but like the last lap at when I clinched the championship, when we won the championship, I was tearing up. Like, I feel like I'm tearing up now, kind of thing. Like, it was a special moment, because my parents, they're the only ones, when you hurt yourself, you don't hear from the teams. Like,
that's right.
You don't get phone calls from sponsors, your boot company going, oh man, like, sorry to hear, like, you've been riding so good. No, they only phone you when, hey man, awesome, you won on the weekend. Like, so my parents are the ones that have been in the hospital with me. Well, not even, because they're from Cairns. So phone mum up, hey mum, I'm in hospital. I'm in Holland, and I've got a broken tib fib and a hip and a collarbone.
Is that what happened out there?
Yeah.
Far out.
When I was in Holland, I
Hey, at least you
axed
can
myself.
get marijuana there. It's like,
and the hospitals are a bit better there.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely, it's a fun road, and like, you know, I have a lot to do with different kinds of influences and stuff, and you know, most people say, oh my God, you ride motorbikes, like how many bones have you broken, like user idiots kind of thing. And I'm like, well, you know, they're cool. I look at them now as experiences. Like I just mentioned, I'm sitting on a track in Holland with my leg facing the other way. Like my boot is around like my toes are that way, and you've got that much adrenaline, because I come over like a 30-meter jump, and there were a heap of bikes, they all crashed together, and I was training, and I just come over the jump and just went, oh, and landed on their bike. Like it wasn't my fault, wasn't anything. You start thinking, if there's someone up there, how come this happened? Well, you know, there's lots of thoughts going on.
I always been in situations like that, you think that it could have been even worse.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Especially that sort of a crash, it's pretty mad.
Yeah. So I was laying there and just going, they're gonna chop my leg off. Like, it's a scary feeling. And then it just works out, and you go, geez. You know, and I'm not saying things always work out, but it kind of, these experiences, it builds you as a person, and it's definitely, I don't feel as a bad thing. Like, yeah, maybe if it didn't happen, I might have got 6th in the World Championship, but,
I know, I
other
mean,
things
you know,
happen.
I haven't competed to the level you guys have or anything like that, but I've had a couple of hospital experiences thanks to bikes and stuff like that. And I remember the first time I did was proper one from crashing a stunt bike.
Yep.
And
That would have been a career over.
well, it wasn't really much of a,
Stub your toe.
wasn't really much of a career. No, I smashed my leg pretty good because I was a smart guy riding in sneakers and doing a wheelie sitting over the handlebars and stuff like that. And I'm in hospital, and they're there, they're basically going, oh, you know, you should really give up riding motorbikes, they're pretty dangerous. And I said to the nurse, I'm like, can you just pass me that scalpel, because I'll just slash my wrist if that's okay. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not giving up riding motorbikes.
It's the first thing they say, isn't it?
Yeah.
They think we're all just crazy.
For me, motorbikes, like I said, like our sport really is like road racing. You know, 12-year-old kid, who's going to buy a $6,000 motorbike? You got to have a stable family first that's willing to do that. So you go in the pits, and they're all stable families. Like, I'm 28 years old. I'm racing guys like Kurt Gibbs for the championship. He's 30 odd years old. His mum and dad are there, like beautiful people, you know.
Billy,
just
his old man Billy, I know Kurt.
Yeah, like, you know, so it's just a great bunch of people. Like, it keeps the kids out of mischief. It's great. It teaches you a lot. So yeah, I don't know. I've actually had a mate that stopped riding when he was younger, and he's on drugs and in jail now, you know, and it's a shame, and unfortunately that's where the world's going. I'm not saying motorbikes will fix that, but it does a bloody good job.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what, I mean, people probably disagree with me. I'm a bike guy and a car guy, probably a bit more of a bike guy, but I kind of tend to think that motorbike riders on the whole, we all kind of see the same thing, like we dirt, road, drag racing, trials, whatever, we're all bike guys. Yeah. Whereas in the car industry, it's so much difference between everything. They're all a bit different. Yep. So there's not like a general sort of
tight-knit group
feeling. I mean, you know, Davo's been brought up around his dad racing on sand and drag racing and road racing and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, he's seen it all. But yeah, for me, motorbikes for me is like motorbikes. It's not like each different one. I just dig it all. Yeah, for sure. And the people, like, what you find a lot is someone goes, oh, that's that guy that's like 10 times world champion, and you go, him? He doesn't look like he could ride a motorbike. Like, you know, like, for some reason people do associate motorbike riders with like badasses, like, you know, that are mischief makers and stuff like that, but it's kind of the opposite. Well, we did have Billy McConnell in the studio before.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a mischief maker. Tell us about your Bucks party.
Oh.
No, just kidding.
Jesus. But how long you got?
Do you remember any of that?
Stag do we call it in. I live in England most of the time out there.
Yeah.
Stag do in London with like 30 of us. Friggin' loose units. It was good fun.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah, it was wicked.
So, getting back to the dirt bike stuff, I mean, you've obviously, you were born in 1990, so I've noticed a bit of a resurgence, and I've got a few mates that are like massive dirt bike guys. Rob, how you going? Noticed there's like a real resurgence of a lot of the old riders from those days, and people talking about two-strokes and all the older tyre and stuff like that. I mean, what are you looking back on those days? Obviously, who were your heroes back then, and what did you like about then compared to now?
Well, it's funny because, like I mentioned, Jeff Leask, like he was.
Oh, he's a massive.
Yeah, he's the man.
He's got a bit to do with road
not
bikes
just a
as well.
boss, but he's like a world
but as
champion,
a kid,
yeah.
I wasn't old enough to kind of be like, oh, like Jeff was running. He was giving me bikes at that stage, you know. Like I knew Jeff as the KDM man, and then later on, as I've become older, like one of my mechanics over there raced Jeff on factory Honda when we're at the World Championship. Like that's how big Jeff Leask is. So those days were unreal. I watch a lot of footage from like the Manji Mump races, like when they had the designations at Manji Mump in Perth. That racing back then was really cool, and I think now it's almost like bikes have got so good and so fast that it almost makes it a bit closer, and like when you watch it, they're not making so many mistakes, and like everything's so dialed. We train so hard. There's personal trainers, you know, there's psychs, there's physical testing. Like,
do you go that psychology stuff? Sports?
So like I said, when I broke my leg in Holland, that led into one of the best things in my life. Like I raced for Kimi Räikkönen, so he owns the team. So when I was in hospital, Kimi and Auntie come in and they were sitting there with me, and when I went to Austria then, so Red Bull have a place called the DTC, it's a diagnostic training center, and it's at Fuschl. So Lake Fuschl has like the headquarters, and it's beautiful. It's like Sound of Music kind of stuff, like the green rolling hills. And
Austria's a pretty place, yeah.
Yeah, so
good road tracks there as well for road bikes.
So I went from Belgium, where it's like you never see the sun and it's raining all the time, and then we drove 8 hours there, and so you walk in, on a TV screen's your name. You walk into the laboratory, they take your blood to see if your CK levels, to see if you've recovered from the day prior of training. Then you got like your personal trainer, so you got a training session, then a physio, and then a psych, and then physio and training in the afternoon. And it's like just on the wall. It's unreal. So I did an 8-week block there with my leg, and learnt about lactic acid, and you know, we know about lactic acid, we know about heart rate, blah blah blah, but learnt how it actually works. So like the trainer had me on the cycle bike for 2 hours, taking every 10 minutes lactic acid from my ear, heart rate 130, okay, yep, this many milligrams of lactic acid, and telling me, you know, Todd, it's just a science. And they're all German, so they speak like they're serious.
Easy.
It's simple. You just pedal, okay, you hop on trainer for 90 minutes, you do this many minutes per week, and you do it this cadence at this heart rate with this lactic acid. When you do more, like you get fitter, so your heart rate goes down, lactic acid goes down, so you can wind up the gears. Like, so it was amazing. Like the stuff that I learnt from spending time there was incredible. It changed my career pretty much with how I structure my training programs and understand training pretty much, recovery.
Sounds like from what you've learnt through the years and the hard times and the good times which led through this, which you spoke about, I feel like I want to employ him as a motivational speaker. I'm getting pumped. I want to go to the gym right now. It's pretty cool.
I've got a really serious question about Austria, because I was lucky enough to I made good friends with the boss of KTM Japan, and then he introduced me to KTM. So I just happened to be in Italy, and we went to Austria and stole a couple of KTMs, me and an ex-partner of mine, and did a lap of Europe on a couple of KTMs, which is cool. But
unreal.
Serious Austria question: have you ever been to the place just north of Mattighofen that starts with F? There's a place in Austria that's basically a swear word.
Is it? Yeah, I've heard of that. I've never been there.
No, I know Mattighofen. So I was at Salzburg.
I'm going to write it down because I don't want to say it on camera.
Well, you can bleep it out.
Well, no, I can bleep it out. There's a place in Austria. I'll put a picture of the street sign up, but there's a place in Austria basically called Fucking.
Yeah? No, I didn't.
It is like, it's about 20 miles north of Salzburg.
Oh, right.
And it's like you go there and the sign says, Fucking. There's no umlauts, no nothing.
There's lots of cool shit goes on in Fucking.
It's probably pronounced Fushing or something like that, but yeah, I was like, I want to go there and get a fucking t-shirt. Yeah, and people are always making jokes about it, but
that'd be unreal.
Austria is a pretty cool place, and you mentioned the Germans. I found there most of the people at KTM were like German.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is there actually any Austrian people here? Yeah.
No, but it's unreal. Like, as a country, like my chick was going hiking every day and I was sitting on a crummy cycle bike. But she's sending me photos, like the hikes there, like once I got my leg fixed, and the hikes that we got to do, and just everything. The people that are around is incredible. Like, this one chick's like, oh, you got to come surfing with us. You're from Australia, you must surf. And Jill surfs every morning pretty much. And we're like, yeah, but there's no beach here. And she's like, no, we've got canals. When the snow melts, the water comes in and it creates a wave. So we went surfing on this wave, but everyone's like just awesome people, like outdoorsy, and that's what we are. So we were just having the time of our life there. It was good.
Good stuff. My last question, I got one more. What cars and bikes have you got in your shed? I love a good shed. Have you
spent a lot of time in England.
Yeah.
So we're Land Rover nuts. So I'm actually doing a snap-on build project at the moment.
That's up your street there, Mark.
Yeah, so
I've had a Discovery.
Oh yeah. Well, I've got a Land Rover Defender, 110.
Yeah, awesome.
It's I bought the 2006, which is the last engine made in-house.
Yep.
So, as people might not know, they stopped making the old Defender shape. So they're becoming quite sought-after vehicles. So my old man, he's got the 130, the ute truck style Defender, and he's like, you got to get one, like they're going to be worth a fortune, So I bought a 90, the smaller one, and in 12 months it went up. Like, I put $8,000 on it, more than what I paid for it, and I just drove around, and someone come and bought it. Yeah. So then I bought, because I wanted the bigger one, the 110, and it's.
What are you doing to the 110 then? Obviously with snap-on behind it.
We've put big wheels on it. So KMC have given me wheels. They're American.
Utilising the sponsors.
Truck, yeah. So they're a wheel company. They do like truck races and stuff like that. So they sponsor Toby Price with his truck doing the Fink Desert Race. So we got those, we got some BF Goodrich tyres on it. We've got like a bunch of sponsors. Car builders gave me some stuff, insulation stuff all through it, using all my Snap-on tools. So I got Snap-on sent me a MIG welder, like compressor, like some stuff specifically to work on.
Probably decked your shed out.
That's
a good sponsor right there. So, I need to have a chat to these guys.
Well, maybe Snap-on need to send me some stuff, but the problem is Davo will be at my house every week.
Me first.
And a funny story about Snap-on was so I started the relationship in 2007 and an opportunity come about, and so I met the guys. We went to one of their big conferences, and I was quite nervous because it's the 150 franchisees from Australia, and I didn't realise, because Snap-on, to me is about like drag racing, and it's an American company, like that style. Well, they did a survey and a lot of it come back motocross specific, and four-wheel drives. But when I went to the conference, like a lot of the franchisees were like, oh, hey, we watched you race in Perth, and oh, my kid likes watching you race, and
that would ease the nerves a bit.
It was. I didn't realise, because I see, Snap-on is like such a high quality brand. Like, as a tool, I've told the guys, my old man had an 8mm and a 10mm spanner, like an open-ender ratchet spanner, and I stole them off him.
Two tools
Yeah, because that's what we use to adjust the chain, and just nice slimline spanner.
You just stole them.
So yeah, well, they stayed in the riding toolbox.
Oh, no.
my normal co-host Jason, both of us, we're qualified mechanics, and when we first announced the fact that we got Snap on board, it was pretty exciting for us because it is quite a prestigious company. But the day we actually announced it, because as a 16-year-old Ford apprentice I had a Snap-on ratchet screwdriver, and to this day I've still got the exact same screwdriver. So I had it we did this launch and announced Snap-on as a sponsor in the car, and I'm like there with my ratchet screwdriver, using it to do the drum roll.
It's lifetime warranty, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is, but the problem is I haven't had to use the warranty because it still works. So I mean, and I've got a good selection of Snap-on tools, not as many as some of my mates who've just got the Snap-on, the full deal. Like
toolbox envy.
Yeah, but I think as a brand, like I went to their warehouse in Sydney, it's cool, they've got all the awesome roll cabs and everything like that, but people that have Snap-on tools are not just Snap-on tragics because it's a cool brand, it's because the tools work and they're good, and they have the Snap-on roll cab, and everyone's got tool pride because you open every drawer and everything's neatly laid out. And
I love to go out people's toolbox, just open them and just do that. Just it really pisses.
You can't if you've got the mat in there where they all slide in. Snap-on have got you now.
Good work.
Well, Davo had a question here for you. I'm going to steal it off you. Getting back to the riding thing, and we'll probably wrap it after that. What are your ambitions from here? Obviously, you've done some stuff overseas. I mean, you're only 28. I mean, look at Troy; he's still riding. He's 50, but I mean, probably motocross. The retirement age is probably a bit lower because of the chance of injuries and stuff like that. But what are your ambitions? Where would you like to go next? And
well, yeah, people do say that, and a lot of the motocross riders retire around sort of 30 or 28, but it's because they get families and they don't want to do it anymore. It's not because of any other reason. It's just either they're getting their butt kicked by young people because they're not training. So. But
for you, your missus is a physio, so she's got someone to practice on.
Yeah, that's right. No, that's the problem. Like a cabinet maker never finishes his own kitchen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Come on, hey,
mechanic never finished their own car.
Like, my back's killing. Oh yeah, you'll be right. Get on the foam roller. Like I've showed you how to use the foam roller. Or she's got a pocket physio. It's like this lumpy thing, and you put it against the wall, and you put it I'm like, I don't want to do that. Can you just do it for me? So it's not.
Don't bring her work home.
But for me, I want to stay in the sport. Like a few years ago, I was kind of like, like the building industry. I like houses and stuff like that. And the thing that I like about cabinet making is creating like a timber kitchen, and it just. I know when you walk in, you see it every day, and it makes you feel good. But now, my old man was always like, "You need to stay in the industry somehow." Like, but it's not about that. Now I understand. It's like it's in me. And they say that it's a drug, and that's why you see people breaking legs and stuff, and they're back out on their motorbike, because it is like, I'm a professional motorbike rider, and I have bikes that they give me as tools. Yeah. But like you say, when you get that, like your Snap-on spanner, I don't know, you get a feeling from it. And my bike, I get a feeling from it, like put a new muffler on it, an FMF pipe, and you're like, oh,
if it's
how
your
good
own
does this
bike,
thing sound?
If it's your own bike, it's different, isn't it? Like if you're building it yourself, if you're like I'm the same, ride for a team, that bike's mint. But my bike's in the shed me more than that. I can't wait to get home to my shed to work on the bikes.
You just slip a pipe on a standard bike, and you're like,
look at it,
how good's that?
Have a look at that.
Yeah. So I want to stay in it. I love doing some coaching, so we do like a coaching clinic going up the East Coast, up to Cairns before Christmas time, and I get kicks out of helping the kids. Like it's to see like 7-year-old kids that look like you, but smaller, riding around. It's just hilarious.
It must remind you of the old days when you first started.
So that I get kicks out of, and the thing that's kind of annoying is half the tracks that I used to ride are gone, shut down, and my 5-year sort of goal and dream is to start a ride park up, like a facility. So I want to create somewhere where, you know, the guys that run the Red Bull Day in the Dirt can be like, hey, can we come use your facility to run our race at it? You know, like, or run a, you know, a once-off big event, or how I want to run it, or have some nationals there. Like, I'd love to have that, because that's the problem at the moment. Around the Gold Coast, I'm driving 2 hours to go riding. You know, like, people are complaining about driving half an hour to work. I drive 2 hours, ride all day, drive home in the traffic. Like, it's,
Well, I mean, the way things are going, and you know, a few years down the track, they're all going to be electric anyway, so you'll be able to run it in the middle of the city.
yeah, but it's
Nobody
not the
complain about
same.
noise. No.
It's like Formula One.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's complaining because they don't have that same sound. Like, and that's exactly what it is. You imagine sitting on the start line.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, when you sit there and you get goosebumps and the crowd's there and you're going, brum, brum, like, and you hear the bikes revving up like the race before you and they go. Imagine.
I mean, I'm still partial to a good two-stroke, like just from the sound and the noise. And I remember last year, I think it was in the 250s, maybe, don't correct me if I'm wrong, they're there and there's one two-stroke out amongst all the four-strokes, and I'm like, that's cool.
When they hit a set of whoops, nah.
That two-stroke might go good around this track.
Yeah.
She's looking pretty tight.
Yep.
Oh,
Cool.
I reckon that's about enough from us. But yeah, thanks heaps for coming and seeing us, and just tell us if people want to look you up and find out more about you or follow you, where do they go?
Yeah, so Instagram's a good place. You know, toddwaters47 on Instagram, Facebook. We got website, YouTube channel. So all your social media platforms are pretty ideal to follow our racing.
Cool.
Best of luck.
And obviously, Davo, thanks for coming and co-hosting again.
No worries, that's good fun.
Follow Davo Johnson 20 on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that, and obviously the Hoonatics and HoonTV. So
Cool.
thanks for coming, Todd.
Awesome.
Awesome,
Thanks for having me,
And
guys.
it's, you're
Appreciate it.
And on behalf of the both of us, and Davo wants some as well, buy Snap-on Tools.
That's it.
Cheesy sponsor plug.
Get in, buckle up, and come for a ride with the Hoonatics. Cars, bikes, and anything else with an engine in it. Let's go.